All right, welcome to Fantasy Football Formula. I'm Chris Savold alongside John Schooner, and we will be your guide to your respective championship. All right, so John and I actually faced off in the League of Destiny this week. I got the win due to a rough performance by Lamar Miller, C.J. Anderson. You started Sammy Watkins, though, right?
No, I started John Brown.
How'd that turn out?
Not great. He had 45 receiving yards, but I should have started Steve Smith, who got 15.
My highlight of week 2 was seeing Brown end up in the end zone for Arizona. But then I realized, not John Brown, but Jerome Brown has had 28 receiving yards. He had Vulture to touchdown in the red zone.
I died. When I saw Jay Brown, I died. I thought it was like John Brown, and I was like, who's Jerron Brown? I never heard of him.
Yeah, well, for my team, I got just great all-around performance from my team. Everyone in running backs, QB, running backs, and wide receivers all got at least 7 points, and that's Tannehill, Charles, Morris, Green, and Matthews, as well as Greg Olsen, added up for 90 points.
Although the bench for you was even better. Allen Robinson, Amari Cooper.
Even though I'm only 1-1 and have the least amount of points in my league, or close to that, I'm so confident in my team, because when you look at the sleepers I targeted this year that I was going to start, Matt Jones, 25 points. Amari Cooper, 17 points. Allen Robinson, 28 points. And Doug Martin had a solid 8 points. Charles Johnson, I say you got to drop him soon if he's on your team. We're just not seeing production out of that team at all other than Peterson. I traded for Mike Wallace, and I think he'll bounce back from a 3.8 point week. But anyways, I've dubbed this week the week of breakouts. We saw a bunch of low-valued players get over 20 points. Allen Robinson, as I talked about.
Matt Jones.
Travis Benjamin. Tyrod Taylor, as well as the Crockett Gilmore out of Baltimore, putting up 20 points out of the Ravens stadium. Now, Max Williams, second-round draft pick for the Ravens this offseason, and I thought he had a sleeper potential in deep leagues. This showing from Crockett Gilmore, I've lost kind of all hope in him. Young guy, got 6 targets, 88 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's a
red zone target. He's big.
And it's his second year in the team. We'll see how the depth chart there changes over the next few weeks. Now, John, who are your waiver ads this week?
This week, I like Travis Benjamin.
Yeah, great job.
Obviously, I prefer him when Johnny Manziel is starting over Josh McCown, just because I think we've seen some chemistry there. That looks pretty good. And while Andre Ellington is out, I would add one, if not both, Chris Johnson and David Johnson.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how the touches will split.
Now, John, I gotta disagree with you there. Chris Johnson, if you need a starting running back next week, sure, add Chris Johnson.
Exactly.
He's gonna get the bulk of the carries. But let's be real here. David Johnson has so much more upside than Chris Johnson.
He does.
Johnson's averaging just over 3 yards per carry.
I'm saying Johnson for next week.
But if I had to choose right now between picking up David Johnson, Chris Johnson goes to David Johnson. David Johnson averaged 8 yards per carry, got a great red zone run with, I think, from the 7-yard line, scored a touchdown. He's actually had 11 points, or at least 10 points in both weeks, even though he had no carries in week 1. He had just 1 reception for 55 yards. So he's a big playability. Once we see him getting more carries, I think he could be top 20 fantasy.
He also might get the goal line work even with Ellington back. Ellington has been known to lose his goal line work to bigger, stronger running backs.
Yeah, so then obviously Matt Jones, need him if you own Morris. You just pick him up anyways if he's a must-add if he's a free agent in your league.
But especially if you have Morris. You need him if you have Morris. But you want him if you don't.
I don't think we'll have the same production. That will be his best game.
That will be his best game.
But still, ton of trade value there. Matt Jones, just great amount of talent right there. Then Ronnie Hillman, I think he's one of the most important handcuffs.
If you have C.J. Anderson, you have to have him. Yeah. I have C.J. Anderson. I have to have Ronnie Hillman. I have him.
That was a bad pick by you, not going to lie. Just kidding. I like C.J. Anderson going the year. Its stats, the advanced statistics should have meant that, should have shown C.J. Anderson having a great year this year. Unfortunately, we're not seeing that. It's typical for the Broncos, though, having a young running back, very high in fantasy rankings going into the season, but then quickly dissipate into a lower end.
I still think C.J. Anderson has running back 1 potential.
I do too. I just buying low on C.J. Anderson, that's a risk for me.
I would definitely buy low on C.J. Anderson if you can.
Depends how much you're giving up. I would not give up, for instance, Alfred Morris, C.J. Anderson would not do that.
I would do that in a heartbeat.
Clearly, John has just not given up on C.J. Anderson.
I still believe.
I just say if you're getting a confirmed running back 2 production from a player, don't give that up. Running back 2, wide receiver 2 are most important positions in fantasy football because those are the positions where you usually lack production. Those are the positions where you either get 15 points or 0 points because some scrub out of Jacksonville can't do.
Except for Allen Robinson.
Yeah, except for Allen Robinson. But I think, for instance, my team, Jordan Matthews, Alfred Morris is my wide receiver and running back 2. Neither of those 2 guys are going to win you a week, but neither of them are going to lose you a week.
That is true.
It's a good year team. All right, so, John, who do you think's gone up for you value-wise this week?
Latavius Murray, he's had 18 touches per game. He's been really good, and I think he's in for a really big week against Cleveland. There's no problem in Oakland with other running backs taking his spot.
It's true. Roy Halu's done.
Latavius Murray is going to have a really good season going forward.
Yes, someone I really think's value has gone up recently, or value has gone down, actually. LeGarrette Blount. Now, Blount returned from his suspension this week and had 2 carries for 4 yards. Yes, small sample size. He was on the field for just 8% of the offensive snaps for the Patriots. But Dion Lewis has really shown talent. I don't know if, especially in New England, Bill Belichick has had a reputation of abandoning running backs just with a jiffy. Blunt, the talent's there. I don't know if I would trust him at all.
Flex play at most, but not even.
Sell high or sell medium for LeGarrette Blount, or just sell in the first place, no matter how much you have to give up to get rid of him. All right, now we're going to have my favorite portion of the show, Trade Talk with Chris Savold. Now, John, this one you're trading Brandon Cooks and Joseph Randle and receiving Jordan Matthews and TJ Yeldon. Would you do that?
I like Cooks and Randle still. I mean, they've had tough weeks, and Matthews and Yeldon are good players, but Cooks is still the top option in New Orleans. He's going to put up great stats. He needs his quarterback back. And Joseph Randle's running behind the best offensive line in the league. And we have not seen any advancements from any of the backups. I think those 2 guys are someone good to hang on to.
Yeah. I would accept that trade, meaning I would take the trade, get Jordan Matthews and TJ Yeldon. TJ Yeldon, I really like the talent there. Last week we saw he had 25 carries, so that's a lot of volume for him, and he's averaging just under 4 yards per carry.
Denard Robinson has shown no advancement.
Yeah, Denard Robinson really showing nothing. Jordan Matthews, though, wow. Philadelphia is really throwing the ball a lot because of DeMarco Murray just not being able to produce. The past 2 weeks, Sam Bradford's thrown the ball 52 times in week 1, 37 times in week 2. Jordan Matthews is getting the majority of targets.
Philadelphia is going to go back to the ground. It's what their team is built for. They're not built to throw the ball a lot. And they're going to go back to the ground. But that team just puts a lot of plays on the field So there's a lot to go around in that offense.
One thing about Jordan Matthews, if he is on your team and you're trying to get rid of him this week before Sunday. He's going against a talented cornerback in Jarrell Revis. That's going to be one of his worst weeks of the season. His value is going to go down a lot this week.
If you can trade for him, I'd do it.
After next week, do it.
Because he might be in for a really tough week this week.
Yeah.
But anyone is with Jarrell Revis.
All right, John, so clearly we disagree on this one. One thing about Randle is, yes, he's getting a ton of volume, but even behind the talented Dallas offensive line, he's not really producing. He's averaging around 3 yards per carry. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah,
but
I think you're right.
That's just, I don't know. I thought the talent was there. I have him in one league, but
Dallas,
I'm worried about him. This week he will have a good week, though.
Dallas, the injuries are a problem. But they're going to want to run the ball as much as they possibly can right now. And Joseph Randle has the talent. He's yet to emerge, but he has some serious talent there. I like Joseph Randle still, even after the slow start.
Now, Joseph Randle, we were worried about him. This is one positive thing about him, being like RBBC, running back by committee.
But he really hasn't been at all.
He's gotten 16 carries first week, 18 carries second week. That's a total of 34 carries through 2 weeks. But then again, he's only totaled 110 yards. So I think better now, who's someone who has horrible week one, just a horrible week one, Sammy Watkins. His value is so low, you must buy.
I have him.
Tyrod Taylor threw 30 times against New England. Sammy Watkins racked in a touchdown, put up 12 points. Very good job by him. I think Watkins, there's no question whether the talent was there. It was just, how's the quarterback play going to be? And
Tyrod Taylor's impressed.
Tyrod Taylor, got to cut down on the turnovers, but he's a mobile quarterback, which means another linebacker in the box opens things up for Sammy Watkins on slant routes and such. John, whose value's gone up for you? Who do you like more?
I like Tyler Eifert, obviously, and Latavius Murray, 2 guys on my team. Latavius Murray I've already talked about, lots of volume. And Tyler Eifert has a bunch of touchdowns, and Andy Dalton has really started to like him in the red zone. He had 9 receptions week 1, 4 receptions week 2, 3 touchdowns. He's had double digits both weeks. Tyler Eifert's going to see a lot of red zone targets, especially as teams start to try to crunch down on A.J. Green.
Now, Latavius Murray has put up 18 touches per week. Week 1, he had 11 rushes, 7 receptions for 36 yards. I really like the talent there. Still worried a little bit about injuries, but until we see any issue with that, love it. All right, John. For Latavius Murray, how much do you value him? We're going to do over-unders, which if you've listened to the podcast before, I'm going to name one player who will be the base player, and then name a second player, and John tells me whether that the base player is over or under him and how much he likes him. So Latavius Murray is going to be our base player. Who do you like more, Murray or Frank Gore?
Murray. More volume.
Murray for more. Me too. Murray or Alfred Morris?
Murray going forward.
I don't know, but I have to go with Alfred Morris there. Alfred Morris played all 48 games in his first 3 seasons, hasn't missed a game, never has gotten under 10 carries. The volume's there, the talent's there, the consistency there.
But could the volume go down with Matt Jones? I'm not sure yet, but you never know. I'll be very interested to see.
We'll get to that later in the show. So, Mark Ingram, Latavius Murray.
That's a tough one. Leaning towards Murray, but I still like Mark Ingram because he's going to get a lot of touchdowns. He doesn't quite have the volume yet that we hope to see because of C.J. Spiller, but I don't worry too much, but I would probably take Latavius Murray because there's no problem in the backfield there.
Mark Ingram, I hate. And when I say I hate him, I hate him. He was my biggest running back bust going into the season, and he still is. He's averaging 3.1 yards per carry, has only had 25 attempts through 2 games. New Orleans, horrible. Mark Ingram, horrible. Hasn't rushed for over 15 yards in a carry this entire season.
But that's not what he's supposed to
touchdown.
do. What he's supposed to do is use that big frame and go forwards. He's good. He's not that talented, but he's going to get a lot of touchdowns. I give him 10 touchdowns this season. I don't love him, but I definitely don't hate him.
Alfred Morris, he does the same thing. He does the same thing as Ingram. Just rush 5 yards per carry consistently. Guess what his long is? 35 yards. 35 yards, John.
But I don't think C.J. Spiller is as good as Matt Jones is. Matt Jones can run a long way.
I don't care.
Really
I'm blocking
fast.
it out. Matt Jones actually, on his 35-yard touchdown run, reached 21 miles per hour. Just a fun fact. All right, Latavius Murray, Giovanni Bernard. I think that one's easy.
That one's Murray for me. Not even close.
Latavius Murray or Lamar Miller?
That's a tough one right now, but I still like Latavius Murray.
I go with Latavius Murray there. So,
Lamar
John,
Miller,
would you rather have Alfred Morris or Lamar Miller?
I would probably rather have Alfred Morris, but
Thank you.
Lamar Miller, even if the slightest uptake in volume, he could break out. He's much more talented than Morris, speed-wise, lateral quickness-wise. I still like Lamar Miller. Be careful with him right now. We have to see some legitimate workload for him. And I think it could come because the Dolphins are going to realize how weird their offense is.
One thing to worry about Lamar Miller, I don't think the Dolphins are confident in him at all. I know his volume has been very low, and I've seen flashes of his talent. I was very high on him in the beginning of the year. I had him as my running back 11 or 10. But they just activated running back Jonas Gray off their practice squad. I know it's not much, but still something to look at if you're a Lamar Miller owner. A possible handcuff.
I'm not starting Lamar Miller this week, but part of that is just the Buffalo offense. But Lamar Miller going forward could still be good, but he's a little bit risky until we can see 15 carries.
All right, now, next one, Jarvis Landry. Jarvis Landry went into the season. People saw him more as a PPR monster instead of kind of standard score and consistency. Jarvis Landry's put up, I think, 30-something points in the first 2 weeks.
He's been terrific.
I really like him. I think he's the go-to receiver in Miami. He's put up 24 points in his first 2 weeks.
Here's one thing I just think keep in mind with all the Miami players is their offense hasn't been that impressive this season, and it's been kind of weird. They've been working a lot of the shotgun, and they've been throwing, I think, almost 80% of their plays, and it's not working that well. So I think you look for their offense to become a little bit more balanced. They have some talent in Lamar Miller. I don't know if Jarvis Landry can continue putting that up, but he will still be very good.
One thing, Jaguars, you would think, have a horrible pass defense, but they're actually ranked 16th overall for pass defense. We'll see Julian Edelman, possibly even Tom Brady struggle week 2. Fun fact about Julian Edelman, put up the same amount of receptions and yards as the first week as the second week. All right, so Jarvis Landry or Amari Cooper?
I'm going to take Cooper.
I'm taking Jarvis.
Because I like Jarvis Landry, but as I said, that offense is kind of weird, and I'm not really relying on anyone right now. The Raiders have really become a pretty good offense. Their offense is young, but they've got a quarterback they're confident in, Derek Carr, and Derek Carr and Amari Cooper seem to be very good on the field together.
Would you trade a low-end wide receiver one, Alshon Jeffrey for Amari Cooper, or let's go a little bit higher than that. Would you trade T.Y. Hilton for Amari Cooper and Jarvis Landry?
I would consider it.
I think I would do that. When you think about it,
Depends. If you don't have a good wide receiver too, I do. For my team, I would do that.
All right. Jarvis Landry or Keenan Allen. For me, Jarvis.
Jarvis, but Keenan is someone to look at because until Antonio Gates gets back because of all that volume. Lots of targets.
Keenan Allen, we saw him get 17 targets week 1, only 2 receptions week 2. What happened there? Phillip Rivers has been spreading the ball around the lock to Stevie Johnson. We've seen that. And when Antonio Gates gets back, you said this in week 2, volume will really go down for Keenan Allen, even more so. Alshon Jeffrey or Jarvis Landry?
I still have Jeffrey, but Jarvis, I'd say, is more talent than Jeffrey on the field, but as I said, I'm not sure about the Miami offense right now just because it's kind of loaded with talent, which is great for the Dolphins, but not great for fantasy owners.
All right, I'm saying Alshon for that one. Second favorite, actually, I lied earlier. This is my favorite part of the week, Redskins. All right, so John's talked about this before. Matt Jones out-carried and out-rushed Alfred Morris. Jones, we saw 19 carries for 123 yards. Morris, 18 carries for 60-something yards, I think. All right, here's the deal. Yes, Matt Jones had 19 carries. Yes, Alfred Morris had 18. But Alfred Morris has always struggled against the Rams. Last time we played the Rams, we saw 6 carries for 8 yards. Or 8 carries for 6 yards. He has always struggled against that defense.
But I don't think the thing was that he struggled. I think the thing was that Matt Jones was terrific.
Yes, he
fumbled, which could get him in the doghouse with the coach eventually, but I'm avoiding that backfield in fantasy right now until I can see them go back to Alfred Morris, but Alfred Morris should be fine going forward.
I think in the future, Morris will get 20 carries a game. Jones will get like 13 to 15 carries a game.
If
you own both of them in a deep league, like 12-team even, I could see you starting both.
Jay Gruden said that he really liked them running the ball a lot. He said if you run the ball more than you pass it, then you'll be in good shape. And that could bode well for both of them. Make sure you have Matt Jones if you have Alfred Morris, though. That's one thing I would definitely say for fantasy owners.
All right, so obviously the run game was the highlight of Washington's offense. Washington actually leads the league right now in rushing yards.
Mm-hmm.
Something they did very well, pass rushing. Nick Foles consistently was under pressure, consistently couldn't make decisions. His QBR was atrocious. I mean,
one thing to remember is the Rams' offensive line is not good. The Redskins' pass rush is fine. It's pretty good, but they didn't put that much pressure on Ryan Tannehill. And the Dolphins' offensive line is arguably worse than the Rams. They have one of the worst offensive lines in the league. The Redskins are fine. They actually have a chance to win their division, but they're not a top-tier team or even close.
I agree with that. I think the defense is making a very good argument for being top tier. Washington has not allowed 300 yards in their first 2 games. I think that's very telling.
And their schedule only gets easier from here, honestly. They're going to play a bunch of division games, and their division is so bad. But I think Dallas could lose all these games going forward and end up 2-8 and still win the division.
All right. So Washington defense, yards per game, number 1 in the NFL.
For
Washington
2 weeks.
defense.
For 2 weeks.
I understand that, John. It couldn't be 3 weeks because we haven't played 3 weeks. Passing defense, number 2 in the NFL. 164 yards per game.
2 weeks.
Rushing defense, number 4 in the NFL. John, I understand it's 2 weeks, but they are showing that Scott McCloughan did a wonderful job with that defense. Joe Barry is a great defensive coordinator. When you put pressure on the ball, your secondary doesn't have to be that good because the quarterback's going to be throwing up balls that aren't that good.
All I have to say about this is every year the Redskins think that once they win one game early in the season, they're going to be great and they're going to win the division, and it never happens. Kirk Cousins is fine. He's not going to be that great. They're going to have problems with the passing game. Their running game is fine. Their offensive line is very much improving, but I still don't
Their running back is one of the best in the NFL. Not even close.
I still don't think they're going to win the division. I don't think that they could beat Dallas.
All right, John, I'm going to tell you why this year is different than every year in the past.
They say that every year about the Redskins.
No.
That's why I can't stand them.
Let's listen to this. Cowboys are 2-0. Their Pro Bowl quarterback is now out for 8 to 10 weeks.
As is the wide receiver.
Yes, Dez Bryant, the building block of their offense, is out for 8 weeks as well.
And Jason Witten's injured too.
their season is in shambles. I cannot see them making the playoffs.
I could, unless the Eagles turn around. I think the Eagles...
All right, I'm not done.
And the
Eagles. Let's go over them. They're 0-2. Offense has looked horrible.
Yes.
Offensive line has looked horrible.
Yes.
What happens when you don't have a good offensive line? Your quarterback gets hit. What happens when your quarterback gets hit and he's Sam Bradford? He tears his ACL. And that honestly could be the best thing for the Eagles right now. Mark Sanchez played well in that system. I think the Eagles, Kiko Alonso is a partially torn ACL. That's not good.
That is not
good
well
at all.
Defense. Because that puts way too much pressure on Justin Maxwell in the secondary. Byron Maxwell in the secondary.
All right, so that team, unless they turn their season around somehow, which I trouble seeing them doing,
I could see them turning their season around easily in that division. I could see it. Now, their running game will get better. I don't think
not as good as the Redskins.
DeMarco Murray is not going to be as good as he was last year. Not even close. I would still take DeMarco Murray over Alfred Morris.
Bold prediction: DeMarco Murray averages under 3 yards per carry for the rest of the year.
Bold prediction. The Redskins don't make the playoffs.
That's not bold. Then the Giants, honestly, have the second best chance, or they have looked the most sound besides the fourth quarter than the Eagles. And
that team they make me nervous. You could have a
if the Redskins win this week against the Giants, everything is in favor for the Redskins to win.
I don't think they'll win tonight. I mean.
Rashad Jennings.
They have no one to guard Odell Beckham.
Rashad Jennings, do not start him this week. Last thing, formations for Alfred Morris in the rushing game were horrible. We shouldn't have been in a tight formation with every offensive player on the offensive line. Morris needs room to rush.
He does.
Like we did in the zone in the past years. When Cousins is in shotgun, Morris is average 6 yards per carry.
It spreads out
4 under center. All right, for Fantasy Football Formula, I'm Chris Savold alongside John Schooner. See ya!